Welcome to Magic Arcanum. I'm Ryan Gomez. Behind the scenes is Nicole Burdick, and we're so glad you're here because it's story time. Tarkir Dragonstorm takes us back to a land of warring clans and dragon-filled skies, and it features a 7-chapter story with 7 spotlight cards that capture some of the important characters and events. But if you haven't collected all of those yet, even with all of the extra time I gave you, well, you're in luck because I'm here to tell you what happens in Tarkir Dragonstorm. We start off on Tarkir at an inn where Narset is observing a live performance. Narset is the waymaster of the Jeskai, and as such, she doesn't get a lot of alone time. So this is a rare treat for her. She's blended in with a crowd, which gives her some anonymity as the 2 performers start their act. It's basically a retelling of recent events on Tarkir, which is really for our benefit as much as it is for the characters in the story. You see, Tarkir has a somewhat unique history. Actually, 2 histories, really. In the original timeline, 2 elder dragons, Ugin and his twin brother Bolas, had a big fight, and Ugin was killed. Without Ugin around, the dragon tempests of Tarkir became less intense, and the people of the plane were able to take control, although they still fought against each other for dominance. That was until a planeswalker named Sarkhan managed to go back in time and change the outcome of the original Elder Dragon duel so that Ugin would survive, and thus the dragons born of the tempests would go on to rule the plane in a new timeline. That's kind of where we left things off last time we visited Tarkir, which was in 2015, so a lot has happened since then, which these actors are now telling us about as Narset watches. Basically, Narset and a group of rebellion leaders performed a powerful bit of magic they called the Storm Nexus Ritual, which drew 5 spirit dragons out of the soul of Tarkir itself. With the help of these spirit dragons, Narset and her allies were able to overthrow the ruling dragons, and a new balance was achieved. Mostly. Other wild dragons were also born from this ritual, but the people of the plane were generally able to handle them and enjoy peace between the clans. I mean, okay, sometimes the clans do still clash over territory or resources, and the remaining Dragonstorms are intensifying again, making some areas of the plane unlivable, which is something on Narset's mind as her quiet night at the inn gets interrupted by a messenger who tells Narset a mysterious woman has come to speak with her. It is Elspeth, who is a puzzle to the natives of Tarkir. They don't have angels here, so they assume she must be part dragon because she has wings. Even though they do have plenty of other things with wings here that are not dragons. Anyway, Narset meets with Elspeth aboard a Jeskai skyship, a sort of floating monastery, and Elspeth explains dragonstorms have begun appearing throughout the multiverse and asks Narset how they deal with them here on Tarkir. Narset tells Elspeth she is seeing changes all over the plane and admits the Storm Nexus ritual has created new breeds of even more powerful dragons, but she is hesitant to try and tinker with any of that out of fear of disrupting the balance of Tarkir yet again. She theorizes Ugin's departure may have had something to do with it, since he vanished after the War of the Spark, and figures there's no way to find him or get his help now, even if she wanted to. As Narset and Elspeth discuss all of this, their skyship is attacked by a dragon, which is shown in Rally the Monastery, a spotlight card. They manage to defeat the attacking dragon, but the experience changes Narset's perspective. She realizes things are only going to get more dangerous, and so something must be done about these runaway dragonstorms before the plane, and then the multiverse, become ruled by the dragons. Before she can start working with Elspeth, however, Narset is approached by a man named Tygam, who points out that the dragons weren't this aggressive before Elspeth showed up, and so maybe she's really the cause of this most recent attack, and so the Jeskai should distance themselves from the angel rather than help her. Narset, in her infinite wisdom, decides it would be too risky to involve the full Jeskai clan, but she packs a bag for herself and heads out with Elspeth early the next morning. We then cut to Ajani, who has come to Tarkir to find peace. He is presently aligned with the Abzan and patrols their borderlands in exchange for privacy and time to reflect on the damage he did as a Phyrexian agent. Ajani speaks with an Abzan djinn named Nur, who does not get a card, but she encourages Ajani to make peace with his past and get back in the game. This is obviously setting the stage for Ajani to get involved in the main story later on, but we're not ready for that yet, so we go back to Narset and Elspeth. They have arrived at the Crucible, which was Ugin's original resting place, and was the location of the Storm Nexus ritual, and is now just a big ball of dragon energy. Also present here is Sarkhan, who tells Narset and Elspeth he has come to induce an encore from the ritual. He is a big fan of dragons and wants them to rule the multiverse. You know, the exact opposite of what Narset and Elspeth want, so they fight. This gives us Narset's Rebuke, a spotlight card in which we see Narset and her magic overpower the sparkless Sarkhan. Sarkhan slinks away back to his private residence on the edge of Mardu territory, fuming at his loss, when he is visited by Tygam, who tells Sarkhan he has something for him. We jump ahead a bit, and Sarkhan and Tygam are now hunting a baby dragon. Tygam explains they need to sacrifice its heart, and this will give Sarkhan back his power. Now this is confusing to me, because the Aftermath card showing Sarkhan without his spark implies he can still turn himself into a dragon, but in this story, that is not the case. I'm not sure if something changed between then and now, but it's about to get fixed anyway. They take down the dragon, which Sarkhan feels a little uncomfortable with, given that he adores dragons, but he considers it a necessary action to right the wrongs of the multiverse. That is Sarkhan's Resolve, a spotlight card that shows this moment played out. As Sarkhan exposes the heart and bites it, Tygam performs a ritual, which is a corrupted version of the Storm Nexus spell, so, you know, things are just going great for these two. Before we can see what comes next, we jump back to Narset and Elspeth, who are being detained by the Abzan after an unauthorized visit to their territory. This is the spotlight card Stormplane Detainment, which is especially frustrating for Elspeth, who figures she could be out of here in seconds if she wanted to, but Narset urges a path of non-conflict. She recognizes they'll need help from the Abzan eventually, and if that means abiding by their rules for now, so be it. Why were they in Abzan territory anyway? Well, back at the Crucible, they didn't find anything but Sarkhan, and after dealing with him, they heard a voice in their heads urging them to seek the temple. Not really understanding what that could mean, they decide to head to the area with the highest concentration of dragonstorms, which brought them here. While the two pace their holding cell and wait to be seen by Abzan officials, we cut over to Ajani as he witnesses the huge dragon form of Sarkhan fly overhead. Realizing the danger this represents, Ajani runs to warn the Abzan. You can probably guess where this is all heading. Elspeth and Narset are finally let out of their cell to meet with the Abzan leadership, but they have a hard time convincing the council of their intent. Then Ajani shows up and verifies things are bad and about to get worse, now that Sarkhan has assumed his dragon form and has taken control of the wild dragons along the borderlands. The Abzan decide they will release Narset and Elspeth, but then they will turn their attention to fortifying their own great city so that it can withstand any dragon attack. Narset and Elspeth tell them, this won't be enough. They might be able to repel a few dragons, maybe even a few hundred, but Sarkhan already controls thousands, and the Abzan have never been tested in that way. Nevertheless, the women resume their search for this mysterious temple in the hopes that they can stop the storms, And the pressure is really on them now, because the longer these storms exist to give birth to more dragons, the greater Sarkhan's army grows. Ajani also stays behind with the Abzan. He still feels too much shame for his involvement in the Phyrexian story, and he doesn't trust himself to be useful to Narset and his friend Elspeth. Even after she promises him he's already forgiven, and he has nothing to prove. The two press onward and do find a raging dragonstorm centered around a temple. Narset does not recognize the architecture, which she finds alarming because that means it might predate the known history of Tarkir, which, mind you, has already been changed once, so this building could represent almost anything. They search the temple and find it was built on top of an omen path. Only this one looks different from the ones that presently dot the multiverse. The one here looks ancient and ragged, which confirms there are forces at work that even the highly educated Narset does not yet understand. Despite not knowing where this omen path came from, they realize they will have to enter it and do so. It takes them to the meditation realm. And so now I have to explain that real quick. The meditation realm is presently home to Ugin and his prisoner, Bolas. At the conclusion of the War of the Spark, Ugin was afraid that killing Bolas would be ineffective. After all, the Elder Dragon had cheated death before. So instead, Bolas was stripped of his Planeswalker Spark and then dragged to the meditation realm, where Ugin swore to act as his warden for all eternity, effectively protecting the multiverse from the schemes of Bolas forever. Now, Elspeth and Narset have found a sort of back door into what was supposed to be a very private and secure location, but it is not without defenses. Elspeth notes that the place has a very confusing layout, and it seems to play tricks on her mind. It is hard to navigate, or tell how far apart things are, for example. Working together, Elspeth and Narset realize it's all a distraction designed to stop you from discovering the real secrets of the meditation realm, and as they try to untangle that, they run into Jace. Yep, this was Jace's endgame for loot and his innate map to the omen paths. He wanted access to the meditation realm. Now, Elspeth is not happy to see Jace. Remember, the last time they were together, he was trying to detonate the Silex, which Elspeth grabbed and took into the Blind Eternities, triggering her eventual death and rebirth as an angel. But all of that is a story for another video. Jace explains that he is here to right his wrongs, and says that he has done what I needed to do in order to reach this point, which basically means using low-level mind control on loot. However, Jace also says he is stuck. His logic-driven mind is unable to make sense of the ever-shifting landscape of the meditation realm, so he's not sure what to do next because it seems impossible. Narset is no stranger to the impossible, so she sits down and starts to meditate, right there in the meditation realm, and things begin to fall into place. You know what they say, reading the realm explains the realm. Anyway, Stillness in Motion is the spotlight card representing this moment, as Narset's calm mind peels back the confusing layers of the meditation realm until the truth is revealed. Suddenly, Ugin and Bolas appear before them, and it is quite a sight. Ugin looks tired and worn down, as if all of his energy is being spent keeping Bolas under control. Narset asks Ugin for help with the Dragonstorms because they threaten the multiverse, and Ugin says, I cannot help you. You shouldn't even be here, because every second I'm distracted by you is a second my brother can use to escape. While this conversation plays out, Jace makes his way atop Ugin's head and grabs the gem suspended between his horns. Before you ask, Jace made himself invisible and left a hologram of himself standing there as a distraction, but I don't know how Ugin didn't feel Jace climbing up his back, at least. Anyway, Jace gets the gem, and Bolas is watching all of this with delight, and Ugin is furious. Of course. Jace explains to everyone that the meditation realm is special. It touches everywhere, and it can be molded by thought. But even these two elder dragons were too naive to understand the scope of that power. Jace goes on to say that he can use this gem and this realm to reshape the multiverse and make it as if the Phyrexians never attacked. He wants to fix everything, heal everyone, plug all the holes, you name it. Elspeth and Narset are supremely against this, and so is Vraska, who emerges from the shadows, though she will still not let anyone attack Jace directly. Jace begs everyone to trust him as he launches into manipulating the meditation realm, but the others watch in horror as Jace is quickly overwhelmed by the magnitude of it all. The realm starts to tear apart, and Jace himself shatters like glass as the waves of wild energy wash over him. Narset grabs loot and runs for the Omen Path as Ugin and Bolas also wink out of existence. Maybe dead, but also maybe not. Narset doesn't have time to think about it. She emerges in the temple along with Vraska and Elspeth and Lute, and they make their way up to the top and discover the sky is darkened by dragons as far as they can see. Sarkhan has rallied his forces and come to the temple, intending to snuff out the one thing that threatens his ability to control Tarkir and then the rest of the multiverse. Vraska covers herself and Lute with a concealment spell and slips away, and Elspeth and Narset realize their story probably ends here. But it will be a good death, fighting to protect the plane and beyond. Fortunately for them both, help soon arrives in the form of a united battlefront, the spotlight card showing the Abzan forces realizing that the best defense is a good offense. Ajani is with them too, which gives great comfort to Narset and Elspeth. They try to reason with Sarkhan, and when that fails, they plan to attack him together, hoping to at least blind his eyes, which would maybe give the rest of the Abzan a chance to take him down. As they position themselves for the strike, however, a voice echoes out across the battlefield. It is Ugin shouting, "Enough!" which causes the wild dragons under Sarkhan's influence to retreat. Ugin himself appears, though Narset notes he looks bloodied and exhausted, and Bolas is still missing, so maybe this isn't going to be the happy ending they all hoped for after all. Sarkhan makes one last challenge for power and breathes fire at Ugin, but, it has zero effect on the OG spirit dragon. In response, Ugin opens his own mouth and breathes ghost fire down upon Sarkhan, which burns off his wings and causes him to fall into the raging Dragonstorm below. Ugin then addresses Narset and says he has been remiss in his duties. In his absence, the Dragonstorms did grow dangerously strong. But even more concerning, he admits he has also allowed for Nicol Bolas to escape his imprisonment. We get one final scene as the silvery waters of the meditation realm begin to condense and reform into a glassy pool, which holds the reflection of a blue cloaked figure. And that's it. That's what happens in Tarkir Dragonstorm. To recap, Narset performed a ritual that brought new spirit dragons to Tarkir, and with their help they overthrew the existing dragon lords and restored peace to the plane. Unfortunately, that same ritual gave birth to other wild dragons that threatened the multiverse, drawing Elspeth to the plane to seek answers. Together, Narset and Elspeth looked for a way to control the storms, while Sarkhan and Tygam corrupted the ritual and tried to use it for their own gain. After briefly reuniting with Ajani in Abzan territory, Narset and Elspeth entered a temple built atop an omen path that took them to the meditation realm. Here they encountered Jace, Lute, Vraska, Ugin, and Bolas, and Jace attempted to steal Ugin's gem and reshape the realm, and by extension, the entire multiverse. Instead, things collapsed, Bolas was freed, and the rest returned to Tarkir to face Sarkhan with the help of Ajani and the Abzan. In the end, Sarkhan was defeated, but Jace may be merged with the meditation realm, leaving the future of the multiverse uncertain. A lot happened here. We had the conclusion of the Dragonstorm arc, but also revelations related to the War of the Spark, and a new wrinkle in the complicated history of Tarkir itself. Of course, I've got thoughts about all of it, and what better way to share them than in a little segment I like to call the Mustache Minute. Ready? Here we go. Alright, so starting with what I liked, Narset is an interesting character. She has a unique perspective on things, and the fact that she is one of the few people in this timeline to know something changed in the plane's past makes her well positioned to deal with the bigger mysteries of this story. Her use of magic was always appropriate and did not seem overpowered, and her ability to solo several dragons in the final battle is supported by lifelong training for exactly that contingency. As far as lead characters go, she's pretty enjoyable, which is why I'm kind of annoyed that she's mostly a passenger in this story instead of the driver. I mean, it's really about Elspeth's journey to save the multiverse from the Dragonstorms and her reunion with Ajani, plus the culmination of the Jace and Vraska adventure with Lute. I think a better use of Narset here would have been to have her discover multiple dead dragons in various territories across Tarkir and slowly build up to reveal Sarkhan having been behind it. This would, stretch out Sarkhan's transformation rather than him eating one dragon heart and gaining powers like it was a mushroom from Super Mario, and it would give us more time with the clans, who could blame each other and slowly ramp up hostilities and threaten to unravel the rocky peace that Narset is trying to protect. Ajani could still be there and work with Elspeth on the storm problem, giving them a longer chance to reconnect and heal each other, and you could still have the big final showdown, although I would probably just put it at the Crucible rather than some random temple. Maybe the Hedrons revealed a unique omen path there. Actually, yeah, Jace has experience with Hedrons from Zendikar, so along with Lute's map, he would be the only one who could see the door and actually open it by manipulating the Hedrons correctly. That would be kind of cool. Everything with Bolas and Ugin could remain unchanged. I mean, they obviously want Bolas out there again because we have to keep cycling through Eldrazi, Phyrexians, and Elder Dragons as our multiversal threats. Right? One detail that I think did get lost in the finale was that Jace was using the crime scene reconstruction magic he learned from Alquist Proft back on Ravnica. I mean, I guess the plan was to use the power of the meditation realm, shaped by Jace's own memory of the multiverse before the Phyrexian invasion, brought into existence through Alquist's technique. I am not sure how this would have really worked, because Alquist's thing doesn't, bring anyone back from the dead. It just recreates the circumstances of an action, like a murder or a forced entry or whatever. So even with Ugin's gem enhancing it, how would it have fixed any of the things Jace was looking to fix? Maybe we will never know. Or maybe now that Jace is embedded in the meditation realm itself, he'll have more time to figure things out and try again. The story also did not say definitively if Ugin had his gem back when he emerged on Tarkir, so that could still be anywhere. The story did also not tell us what happened to Sarkhan. I mean, we see him get burned and fall from the sky, but we don't see a body, so I don't think we can say for sure he is dead. Oh, and Tygam just sort of vanishes too. I think he intended to challenge Narset for control of the Jeskai, but I'm not clear how adding more dragons to the mix was going to help him with that, and so I do not understand his motivations for aligning with Sarkhan. And one last thing. Near the end, Jace explains to everyone that even with Lute and his perfect maps, it took a very long time to travel the multiverse and reach the specific spot on Tarkir that would let him access the meditation realm, which to me makes using Lute as the cheat code in the Aether Drift race even more ridiculous. I mean, Jace basically confirms here it does not work like that, but it did, so Lute continues to just be the fuzzy little plot device that the writers need him to be. Even though this story concluded the Dragonstorm arc, we are still left with several mysteries, like where will Bolas go now that he is free? What will become of Lute now that he has served his purpose? And is Vraska available now? Is there like a Ravnica Tinder I can find her on, or how does that work exactly? If you've got theories, leave them in the comments, then make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the great stories you'll only find here on Magic Arcanum. We'll see ya!